The rich human interest story of Hollywood is filled with happiness and despair, joy and tragedy, a crazy quilt of madness, sanity, laughter and tears, the desperate struggle to reach the top and the battle to remain there.
My name is Vivian Kerr, and this is Conversations with Actors.
So actually, I did want to ask you, I don't know where you're from.
Well, I moved around a bunch when I was growing up for my dad's job. I was born in Philadelphia, and then we moved to Baton Rouge, then to Texas, then to Augusta, Georgia, and then to Baltimore, which is where I spent my high school years, and then I came out to LA.
Did you ever want to go to New York since you were already on the East Coast?
I did as a kid because I loved Broadway, but when it came time to apply to colleges and really figure out what I wanted to do, I was well aware that I can't dance. And and I can sing, but not to the standard that you have to be a Broadway, star.
Were you like a musical kid? Like, did you do like musicals at school?
I did musicals. Actually, I never got into the musicals in high school. I think that teacher had it out for me for whatever reason. But I grew up doing plays. I grew up singing in like a children's choir and went to a performing arts high school for theater. And so when I was applying to colleges, I applied to, probably 9-10 schools.
Oh, wow.
I did a lot of safety schools because my SAT scores were terrible.
Was it all theater programs?
Yes, all theater programs. I knew I wanted to study acting, but I applied to like all kinds of different schools. Some that had very serious BFA conservatory type training, and then some that didn't. Just had like a BA, and I was totally fine with that too. Because I had that performing arts high school. Oh yeah, get your coffee. Because I had that performing arts high school experience, I wanted like the college experience. And I auditioned to be a BFA at USC.
Oh,
but
good.
Yeah, so all the schools, or a lot of the schools that I applied to, come to New York for a weekend. And you go up, and you go from school to school, and you do your 2 monologues and your song, and that's it. But you know who auditioned me? It was Jack Rowe.
Oh, yeah.
And Stephanie something.
Schroyer?
Yes. Yeah. And I remember her name Stephanie, obviously. But, yeah, they auditioned me. The room was filled with kids, and for whatever reason, I was first.
Oh, God.
The very first person on that last day, and I was super sick that weekend, which tends to happen when I'm stressed and nervous. I get really sick. And that weekend was killer, and luckily I still got into USC, even though I didn't get into the BFA program. And honestly, looking back, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I missed out on anything not being a BFA.
I'm just curious, like, how did you... I just think this, like, I don't think I even knew there was such a thing as a performing arts high school when I was a kid. How did you, like, know about this? Or, like, I mean, because you were, like, 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Like, how did you know that you wanted to do that?
Well, how did I know about it? My mom must have known about it. Oh, you know what? So when we moved to Baltimore, I was in 8th grade, and I went to a summer camp, like a theater camp that summer, and I had to have already been into the school because I was going into high school. I don't know. There were 2 performing arts high schools in Baltimore. There was one in the city, Baltimore School for the Arts, which is like well known. I think that's what Fame was like based on or something, one of those movies. And there was Carver Center for the Arts and Technology, which was in the county, and you couldn't go to the city one if you didn't live in the city. So because we lived in Baltimore County, my mom took me to audition. I don't even remember.
What a 13-year-old to do?
We had to do a monologue, and we had to do improv, and then we had an interview. And I didn't get in. I was on the wait list. I was 22nd on the wait list. And it was a week before school started. I was ready to go to my regular public school, had all my classes sorted out. And my mom gets a call from Carver saying, there's a spot for Stephanie. Does she want it? And I was like, absolutely. And I started a week later at this school, and it was such a cool school. I mean, when you think of a performing arts high school, you think of kids dancing in the hallway, and and that's how it was, artists painting, and it was really, really, it was such a great experience. I mean, anything kind of went, and we were constantly doing shows and performing and working on stuff, and it was such a great environment. I really feel like that's where I learned how to act.
I'm sort of jealous of that experience because, I mean, gosh, like I was saying, not only did I have no idea there was even such a thing as a performing arts high school when I was in high school, but my high school, it was we did our plays in the cafeteria. Do you know what I mean? We didn't even have a real theater. I mean, we did, but it burned down. But
oh no,
yeah. So yes, long story. But I'm just wow. I wonder what that would have been like. But the truth is, I think I would have been really intimidated. Were you did you said you felt right at home? You weren't nervous that everybody else was so passionate or so focused at such a young age?
I'm sure I was super intimidated when I got in, especially knowing that I was 22nd on the wait list and all these kids had gotten in, right off the bat. But we were all so young and knew nothing. I mean, we did a monologue to get in, and I remember practicing the monologue with my dad. I think my monologue was from Heidi Chronicles or some Wendy Wasserstein play. And I really didn't know much about acting except from what I saw on television and saw in theater. And I just thought it was memorizing lines and saying them out loud. And I could do that.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. Yeah, really. But, and then all of a sudden I'm in this high school where we're working on movement and voice and learning different techniques. Wow. And I was just talking to someone I went to high school with over the break how we learned about the Grotowski method.
Wow.
Junior year in high school. A lot of people don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, and doing the Meisner repetition and all that crazy stuff. And looking back, I was so young. I can't believe we were doing it then, but we lived and breathed theater. I mean, it was great. And of course, we had all the other classes as well. It wasn't we just did acting all day. But the concentration on the acting was amazing. I mean, I feel like if I hadn't gone there, I maybe wouldn't be out here.
When you got to USC, did you feel like you had a kind of big leg up, or when you were in voice or movement or acting class at USC, were you kind of I've done this before? Or
no, because I felt like all the kids we went to school with at USC took it very seriously, and I feel like they were pretty selective about who they did let into the program. I certainly thought I would get into the BFA program, but
did you ever think about applying again to transfer into it, or
no? I
after
didn't.
Freshman year?
No, I think once I got there, I was fine with it. Totally fine with it, and there were maybe a dozen BFA students, and how many of them are still acting? I don't think that really matters when you're out of school.
Yeah, actually,
no one looks at your resume and goes, oh, BFA or
right.
BA, who are we going to hire? I don't think it matters.
That's actually a good question. What percentage do you think of the people that we went to school with, I guess, in either program, what percentage do you think are still acting? I actually have no idea. If
Can't
you had
be
to
that
guess.
many.
No.
I don't know, maybe, just from our class, I don't know, maybe 20? That might be high.
Wow, yeah, I was going to say like a quarter.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah. I think you can kind of go either one of two ways with it, right? Like you can either kind of look back and like be really grateful to still be at all, have it be at all part of your life, or I think people can get really jaded and bitter, and or sometimes you just swing back and forth between the both. I don't know.
I feel like once a month I'm like on the opposite end. But no, I think it is really special, and I think we should celebrate it because, I mean, it's not easy. And I don't know about you, but they don't teach this.
What do you think if you could create
college?
a class, like if you could have gone back and created a class for yourself, you know, your 18, 19, 20-year-old self, like what class do you wish that you had taken, or what things like do you wish would have been sort of explained to you?
I wish there had been a class given about the business of acting. I feel like I knew none of that when I graduated.
Like, so what businessy things?
How to, I mean, we're basically our own CEOs. How to market, how to audition, how to network, how to create our own content. I know that wasn't really like a huge thing when we were in college, but I mean, now it is. And just doing like a class that teaches, like that just tells you how to figure things out. And I don't even know if that's like a class you can teach or if it's just something you learn along the way. But it would have been nice to know that it's not always about the craft of acting, and it's called show business for a reason. Like, it is a business. It takes a long time. You start at the bottom and you work your way up like any other job. Would that have helped in college? I don't know. I probably still would have just graduated and been like, I'm going to be famous in a month. But maybe it would have, because I feel like I didn't learn that until maybe 5 years out of school. And then I really started figuring that out and seeing how to, you know, be with an agent and not piss them off and all that other stuff that they don't talk about in college.
Do you feel like you like in those first 5 years, you made mistakes just from like ignorance, like not knowing things?
Totally. I did a showcase. Somehow this management company got my info. I must have done a mass mailing. I did a bunch of those. And there was a management company that reached out. They wanted me to come in and audition, and I did, and they signed me, and I was super excited. And then they want me to perform in a showcase for $1,500.
Wow.
And I did it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I paid up.
Sure sounds like a deal.
Yeah. There were going to be lots of agents there. And there were. And I got rep out of it. I got a commercial agent and a theatrical agent out of it. So, in my mind, it worked.
But now in hindsight, you're like, what a scam.
Oh my
it's
God.
Like, it's so awful.
So then...
You just like prey on actors.
Oh my gosh. And I didn't know any better. And I figured I had to do it. Everyone else was doing it. And since it did, like, work, I then had rep, but wasn't getting out. So I emailed the management company and said, if I don't have 5 auditions by the end of this week, I'm done. You guys aren't working hard enough. And I sent it. I cannot believe I did that. But that happens all the time because you're not taught that. You're not taught that they're probably submitting you for everything. I had no credits. It wasn't in the union. Like, who's going to call me in for an audition?
Yeah, I love that you had that confidence, though. Even as ridiculous as that email was, I love that you were like, I am worth more than this. Like,
I was like, I should be going out 3 to 4 times a week. Why aren't you working hard for me? But that's such an idiotic thing to do, but it is. It was just out of ignorance. I didn't know any better, and I just figured that was going to give them the kick in the pants. And then all of a sudden, I think the lady wrote me back, like, I wasn't expecting to hear that from you, Stephanie. We work really hard for you. And then I think once, like, my contract was up with them, I left. And then I didn't have rep for, like, another couple of years. But it's all just a learning. But no one teaches you that. If there was a way... So the smartest thing I did was I interned at an agency.
Oh, okay. Right after USC?
No, like... After all this.
Oh, wow. What agency did you intern at?
So I was interning at Angel City, who is still, to this day, my commercial reps. I've been with them for, probably 8 or 9 years now. And so my acting teacher set it up for me. And that was honestly the smartest thing I did because I got to see that side of the business. And emails and phone calls like the one that I made to the previous people come in all the time from clients. And it pisses the agents off. They don't want to work for you anymore. And they're like, they drop you or they just stop submitting you. And I finally saw that. And I finally saw the business end of it and how an agent they only get paid if you get paid, and you have to be the one that's working way harder than they do because they're only making 10%. They don't really work much harder than that.
That's a good point. We should be doing 90% of the work. You mentioned your acting teacher. Who was that?
So I still study with him. His name's Brian Reese. He's wonderful. He teaches a cold reading class. You show up, you get a script, you get an hour to work on it, which is way more time than you would ever need to work on it. And then you get up and you do it. And he really does teach you, do what's on the page. You know, the writers get paid a lot of money to write those words. So just do what's on the page. I mean, obviously there's more to it than that, but he gets down to the basics. And he really, for me, I'll leave and go do another class, but then I kind of always go back to him because he's a confidence builder, which is huge for me. Because once I start doubting myself and my choices, forget it.
That's really wonderful that you have that, because there's so many teachers who are not like that.
I know.
Right. And I agree. I'm not good at, I've been in classes where the teachers sort of like tear you down a little bit, and it's, for me, I don't thrive in that atmosphere at all. It makes me sort of shrink into myself as opposed to like grow and learn.
Yeah,
it makes me less likely to take a shot, or like go do something that you're like, I have a gut instinct feeling about this, but I don't know. Like you're not going to take that chance if you feel like you're going to be torn apart for it. Yeah. That's really interesting that you've sort of studied with him so consistently. What do you think about class in general? Do you think all actors should be in class all the time? Do you think that
I think that it's good for me to be in a class all the time and consistently, just to keep up that muscle of memorization. Because when I go weeks without having an audition, at least I'm still memorizing stuff once a week. Because that does get super rusty. I mean, when we get back from like Christmas break after being off for a few weeks, I have a harder time memorizing things. So it takes me a little bit longer. So in that regard, yes, but I feel like I've gotten to the point where I'm tired of doing classes that I feel like I should be doing rather than really wanting to take them. I have done so many different classes just because I should be getting outside my comfort zone. I don't regret taking any of them. Like, I love improv classes, and I loved trying the stand-up and stuff, but I don't feel like I need to keep taking those classes just because I should be taking those classes.
I agree. Sometimes it feels like you're, like, filling time a little bit with the I don't know. I think that's a thing with actors sometimes where the frustration of not working, they're like, well, I'll just take a bunch of classes to sort of fill that time. Which can be good, but I agree. Sometimes you're like, I don't really want to take this. I'm just kind of doing it to have something to do. You did a stand-up class?
I did.
What was that
I did it
like?
twice.
Wow.
You know what? It was really fun. I'm so glad I did that class. So I saw my friend do her performance after she took the class. Do you know Jill Alexander?
The name sounds familiar.
She's wonderful and has become like a big sister / mentor to me. And she took the class, and I went to her final show, and I was like, and it actually inspired me to take the class. It didn't feel like it was something I just should do to do it. So I signed up, and the teacher, her name's Judith Shelton, and it's a 4-week class, and she gives it ongoing throughout the year. And every class you're writing and getting up and doing stuff. And
terrifying.
At the end, you do a little show. The show is wonderful because you just invite your friends and your family, and they're going to laugh at everything. But yeah, I took it once, loved it. And then I think the second time I took it, I was just like kind of bored and needed something to do. But I did it again, and I got some great material. Now I have no interest in becoming a stand-up comedian.
I was going to say, did you go out to any open mics?
No.
Hey, you already have the material.
Is terrifying.
You already have the material.
I know, but to actually, try is terrifying. But no, it was talk about getting outside your comfort zone. It was great. I'm glad I did it.
My gosh. It's just already I'm getting sweaty just thinking about it.
Right?
It's funny. I don't think the delivery is the scary thing. I think if someone else wrote a set and they were like, go do this, pretend like you're a stand-up comedian, I think that would not be scary. But I think the idea of I've written something that I think has jokes in it, and I'm going to tell those jokes and expect a laugh. Whew.
Yeah. I will say, after I took that class, I felt like I could do anything.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You're skydiving, whatever.
I felt like I could conquer the world.
Oh
because, it's very scary being up there alone. But in the safety net of a class is what I liked about it. I wasn't just going to try and write material on my own, having no idea what to do, and then go to an open mic. Having a class with a teacher who knows what she's doing was I wanted to do it that way.
I think that's very impressive.
Thanks.
So I was going to ask, when you started working, do you remember what your first job was that you felt like, I'm a real employed actor now? What was your first thing that you remember booking?
The very first thing I booked was a commercial for York Peppermint Patty. And it was my very first commercial audition with Angel City. So I interned there. Wow. I interned there for about 6 months, and then I asked, her name's Mimi, the owner of the agency, if I could read for her and become a client. And because she'd gotten to know me over the last 6 months, she was like, absolutely. Because I wasn't in the union yet, she just took me on commercially. And a few months went by, I got new headshots, did that whole deal, and I finally got an audition, and it was for this York Peppermint Patty commercial, and I booked it. I mean, the very first one. It was insane. Amazing. And it got me in the union, which is another, how do you get in the union?
Yeah.
I tried, getting the vouchers, the elusive vouchers, which, I've never actually even seen one. I don't know how that really works.
Through extra work?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I did it one time. I was an extra on Glee. It was the worst day of my life.
Why was it so bad?
Well, luckily my best friend was with me, so I had someone to hang out with, but it was just all these kids, because we were playing the students in the high school. And being an extra, And watching the real actors, I can't believe I just said that, watching the main actors, and you're just standing there watching them, and you know you can do what they do. It was soul crushing to me. Nothing they were doing was hard. I knew I could be in their place. And I told myself that night when we went home that I was going to get my SAG card another way. I was never going to do extra work ever again.
Have you ever been in the situation where you've been working and you've felt the extras looking at you, like in that way at all?
I don't know. I can't say that I like felt it. Mm-hmm. It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Like if they were like inspired by it, but hopefully their souls weren't crushing like mine was.
No, I just ask. Yeah, I did some extra work as well right after school, mostly just because I'd never been on a set before. And now I do sometimes feel hyper cognizant of the background artists. Like I'm very, I don't know, it's very weird. Like I want them to like me, which is
I go out of my way to
healthy.
be nice to them.
Yeah, it's like I don't know why. It's like really, it's probably like completely pointless, but it's like I want them to not like hate me, which is so,
Well,
But obviously, it's like you've got to focus on what you're doing. You can't just be like cracking jokes with people all day, like
right.
But I'm very aware of it too. I don't like that kind of separation. Like I find that strange.
Treated like crap. I mean, when I did the Glee thing, we were put in a cafeteria, and that was it. We were just kind of shoved in there. They took us when they needed us, and I don't remember getting fed, or there had to have been water, but I don't remember.
You're like horses, water. Just like put you in the barn, take you out of the barn.
And there was one point when my friend and I were like, should we just leave? It was awful. You sit around for like nothing, really. And so I guess even though it was like soul crushing that day, it was inspiring as well, because I told myself I wasn't going to do that anymore and I was going to get it another way, and I did. So
I'm sorry. Sorry, you were going to talk about what was it like shooting your first commercial?
Oh, the York Peppermint Patty commercial.
So were you nervous at all because this was like your first job?
So nervous. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe I got it.
Okay, now I have to like find this when we're done. I want to watch it.
It never aired.
Oh, really?
So
have you
sad.
ever seen it?
Nope. I never saw it.
That is what I think is crazy sometimes too, where it's like if you shoot a pilot and it doesn't get picked up, like you never see it. Never see it. And you're like, why? Like, can't you just let the people in it watch it, just at least to have it for themselves?
I never got to see it, and it was a crazy shoot. So it was a 2-day shoot. I was playing a girl in my apartment, and my roommate was sitting on the couch. I was at the desk, and I'm biting into York Peppermint Patty. And when you bite into one, you turn into, it was like an ice princess or something. And then all of a sudden, my chair starts swirling around like I'm a figure skater. And they had asked us at the first audition if we had any skating training. And I said no. I don't. Well, we didn't need it because they decided to have me twirl around in all these different ways sitting in a chair. That second day,
you're nauseous.
No, it was so bad. At one point, they had built a contraption, the ride at the fair where it's
the cups, the sauce?
No, not the cups. You're in a seat. There's always someone sitting next to you, and you're just kind of going
oh yeah,
around. I can't think of the name of it.
It's you're
rotating around.
Oh my god!
They built one of those to have me sit in a chair, and these poor guys are spinning me around, but they couldn't get it fast enough, and I'm dying. And then I'm strapped in. And so we finished that part. I was so dizzy. I could barely stand up. Then the very last part of that commercial, they nail a chair down to the ground. I sit in it. They wind it up like a top. And then someone's standing over there pulling the strings so my chair is spinning like this. And I'm supposed to be looking straight up because the camera is straight above me. And I'm spinning, looking into the camera, smiling as if I'm an ice skater. It was the medic. I thought I was going to lose it. The medic gave me Dramamine. But by that point, I was already so dizzy. It was like too late.
Oh, God.
And we broke for lunch. I couldn't eat anything. And everyone was like, oh, you're such a trooper. I'm like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? I can't, like, throw up everywhere. Luckily, I have a really good stomach because, honestly, if anyone with any kind of motion sickness got that role, they would have been puking. I mean, it was ridiculous. My agent tried to get stunt pay for it, but, like, that never worked out.
And they didn't have a stunt double for it?
No.
Oh, God. I mean,
it was absolutely insane.
You feel like they would, like, check ahead of time, like, do you have any motion sickness or inner ear problems?
Nope.
Oh, my God.
It was crazy. And I never got to see it.
Yeah.
That was
That's
hardest
the real
part.
tragedy. Yeah.
I never got to see it. But
you got paid.
I got paid. I got in the union. Yep. You know, it was a good experience. And the biggest compliment, the director came over to me at one point and asked, like, how many commercials I'd done. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is my first.
You should have been like 17.
And this is by far the worst.
Oh
but
my
now
gosh.
it's nuts. I still can't believe I never got to see it.
How did you, so you had sort of this, like, early success in commercials, and then how did you start working theatrically? Like, how did you make that?
So once I booked that, I became SAG eligible, and my agent took me on theatrically. But I didn't have that many theatrical auditions. I mean, I still really didn't have any credits. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even really seeking out, like, non-union stuff, or, like, I had a day job. Like, I was working all day.
What was your day job?
I worked in retail.
Where did you work?
I worked at Nordstrom, and then I worked at a store called Fossenob in Beverly Hills.
So you worked, like, 9 to 5 there, and what would you do when you had an audition? Would you just try and fit it in on your lunch break?
No, luckily my manager at Fossenob was really good about letting me leave for a while, and then she became not good about letting me leave, and then I got fired. Like 5 years later.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I was there for 5 years. But I was there when I booked Mad Men. Wow. I was there when I booked Peppermint Patty.
Was that stressful? Like, sometimes I think when you have a big audition, you kind of need your morning to, like, get in the right headspace for, or I don't know, I think I do. Like, kind of have a plan for, like, okay, I wake up and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to, you know, get ready or whatever, do my makeup, and then I'm going to, like, drive, and then I'm going to, like, I kind of almost feel like there's a whole way of preparing on the day that is beyond just, like, walking in the room and doing your audition. Mm-hmm. And I always feel like that would be so stressful to be like, okay, you know, I'm working this job, and then I'm going straight to this audition and then running back to my job.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like it affected your auditions at all?
I don't think it did. I think I was young. I think I could handle all of that. I had no choice. I had to have a day job.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of what it was. I remember the morning of my Mad Men audition, I had a callback for a Chili's commercial down at the Ocean Park casting in Santa Monica. And there wasn't a whole lot of time in between my Mad Men audition.
And that was
downtown.
Yeah, oh wow, okay. So you're running on the 10 to get there.
The Chili's callback was taking forever. I finished that, changed in the car, got in my car, called my agent, said, I'm running a little behind, but I'll be there. And I don't know if you've ever been to this.
Oh, it's great.
The parking slot is so confusing.
That place is, like, so crazy. Like,
yeah.
It's so funny, actually, that's where Mad Men's offices were forever, because the building it looks like something from Mad Men. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, you're like, you don't even need sets, just like film in one of these hallways.
Totally, and they did. They used the building for a lot of stuff. But
it's kind of a maze to like get in. It's like you can go up through like this walkway.
Yeah.
Oh God. So you were running late and like trying to figure that out.
Freaking out, huge audition, and I don't know. I just kind of went in and did my thing. I mean, this was before I ever thought about getting coaching or anything like that. It was about a page and a half of dialogue. The character felt very, similar to me. I did it once for the casting director, and then she had me do it. She adjusted me and had me do it again. And then right then and there, she was like, "Can you come back later today at 4:30 for producers?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So then I went back to Fossenob and worked.
That's the reason you got back and you were like, "Hey, I'm back.
Yeah,
I gotta leave again.
I have to leave again.
I gotta leave in like 3 hours."
My manager was so nice about it back then. I mean, she really was. Her boyfriend was an actor, so she kind of understood it. Mm-hmm. And she never had an issue with it. I think because I made up for it. I mean, on days when I would leave early, I'd come in early the next day and help out. Mm-hmm. Like, I was good about that. And then, so then I left to go back downtown.
It's so funny. So your day was like Beverly Hills to Santa Monica to downtown to Beverly Hills to downtown.
I was all over the place. I spent so much time in my car. And
It's like a very typical actor, I think, in LA day.
Mm-hmm. And I'm changing in and out of my work outfit to my Mad Men outfit in the bathroom. And then I did the producer session, and then I went home. I called my manager on my way home. I was like, "Do I have to come back into work?" She's like, "No, just go home." Because it was like 5:30 at that point, and we closed at 6. And I don't know, maybe an hour later, my agent called. I was like, "You're on hold for it."
You were like, "Yes."
That was the hardest. I mean, talk about like ultimate highs to ultimate lows. I mean, shooting a day or however long I would be on an episode, and then the next day having to go back to your day job. It's hard.
Like, it's when you I mean, it's just so funny, like, how many actors are doing that. And I'm sure everybody, from home in Baltimore is like, "You're famous. Like, we saw your episode of Mad Men. Like, that's so amazing." And you're like, "Yep. And I'm still in my retail job." Like, it's just So were you still doing that the whole time you were on Mad Men?
No. So I got fired from Fossenob.
They were like, "Why are you always on Mad Men?"
No, my manager turned on me.
Aww.
She got really mean.
Was it because you were gone, though, so much?
Yeah, I was gone a lot. I was auditioning more, and I wasn't making my sales goals. That's what it ultimately came down to. But she also claimed that I had gotten... what's the word that they used? Oh, entitled. I'd become entitled.
I hope you were. You, come back, you're like, "I have Mad Men now. I don't need you."
I don't feel like I was.
That's hilarious.
I don't feel like I was. I feel like I was still just doing a really good job at Fossenob.
It would also be great, though, if you were like, that's your recollection, but then you were like showing up in like a mink coat and like, do you know what I mean? Like,
"I don't need to help you."
Like a cigarette holder.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, "Whoa, you've changed."
Carrying around my Oscar. Yeah.
You like come in with like there's like a purse with a dog in it. They're like, "What's going on?"
Oh, that's what really happened. No, I don't know. She just turned on me, and that was it.
Did you feel like did the actors on that show at all, like, were they like, "Oh, you're just like another working actor like us," or were like, did you ever talk to them about like, "Yeah, so tomorrow I'm going back to my retail job"?
Yeah, I mean, I remember John Hamm. We were coming back for, it must have been I think I got fired between seasons 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. So we were coming back for season 6, and John asked me how my summer was.
And you're like, "Well, I'm still working retail."
I was like,
"Did anyone ever come into your store?"
No,
I feel like that would be like
came
weird.
in.
You're like trying to pretend like someone's like comes in to shop. And you're like, "Oh, hey, what's up? I saw you yesterday."
Yes, I actually do work here. Yeah. That would have been so depressing. Oh my God.
You're sort of like, you've got your, it's like you're the superhero, then you've got your, like, cover story.
I know. Oh my gosh. But no, it was, I mean, getting fired was probably the best thing that could have happened, because then I got to focus on all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But they were, like, aware of, like, I mean, they must be. I'm sure they were, like, I feel like everybody who's gone through that, or, like, you know, everybody who wasn't, like, a success when they were 14, I think, gets it, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes I think the ones that don't, I'm like, like...
Yeah, it was definitely an experience. I mean, I can't remember how many times I changed in the Fossenot bathroom and, like, just ran to my car to make my audition in Hollywood and then have to go back to work. I mean, I feel like it'd be tough to do that now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was totally fine. It was what I had to do, and I did it.
Yeah.
I didn't think twice about it.
When you were working on Mad Men and you kind of had the opportunity to develop a character over a period of time, what was that experience like? Did you... I mean, it's tough, I'm sure, because they never sat down and they were like, you're going to be in this many episodes.
Yeah.
So what was that like, kind of developing on the fly like that?
I mean, it was always such an honor to get to go back, because secretaries were like a dime a dozen in that show. You never knew how long you were going to last. Honestly, like, character-wise, going back to, like, my acting class, I did what was on the page. They made it so easy. You know, I think I made... But it all been... I mean, really, that first initial audition when they adjusted me, the adjustment was, can you make her, like, a little more dumb, basically, or, like, doe-eyed, you know?
You were like, done.
And I was like, easy. Totally my wheelhouse. And, like, literally that's how I played her the entire time. I got very few adjustments on set. And
I mean, you were hilarious in the role.
Oh, thank you. And the words that they wrote me were just so good. It was just easy.
I feel like you're someone who projects a lot of confidence. Like, to me, you seem very... I feel like you've always seemed very poised. And I definitely can see why you fit in so well into that world. But on the inside... what was it like? I know for myself, like, I've been that person who's in my trailer or my dressing room before I go to something, and I'm just like, I can't get comfortable, I'm kind of pacing. Like, did you feel like you got to a point where you weren't nervous anymore, or were you, like, kind of never nervous from the get-go?
I was always nervous. I was super nervous my very first day. But then Christina Hendricks told me that she was nervous too, because it was her first scene back after like a long hiatus. And I was like, okay, well, if she's nervous, then it's okay that I'm nervous. I think I was super nervous every time I went there, because, I mean, even by that last season, I was in so many episodes, but the nerves never really went away, especially if I was acting with John Hamm. I mean,
you're like,
it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, and when I'm nervous, my lines are the first thing to go. So there were many times when they would yell action and I would start talking and my mind would just go blank. Somehow, by the grace of God, they would come back to me before anyone noticed. I hate that feeling because I feel like I'm not in it. I'm just worried about the lines, even though I knew my lines. It's not like I didn't know them. It's just that I was that nervous and they just fly out of my head. But they always come back. It's like my mind does it on purpose or something, and it's very mean. But that happened quite often.
What did you learn about acting just by watching the other actors on that show?
They're all so good. I mean, to think back that was my first TV job and that was who I was learning how to be on a TV show from, I can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just amazing. It was like a masterclass watching those guys. I mean, there would be scenes that I wasn't in, but I'd be there that day, of Elizabeth Moss, and I just loved watching her work. I mean, that girl is so good, and she can cry like nobody's business, and I would just go and watch her. I mean, she's incredible.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And the hardest days were when it would be like one of those big boardroom scenes where there's like 8 of us, and
You're just like sitting there taking notes.
you're sitting there taking notes. You maybe have
Fake
one
notes.
line here or there. Yeah, lots of like doodles.
You're like pages and pages of fake notes.
Totally. And
You're
my
like,
little
you're
drawing.
like in the corner exploring Meredith's inner life. You're like, I got a whole backstory over here. No, not interested.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll just keep taking my fake notes.
And you don't have a whole lot to do. I remember on my birthday, I was there on my 31st birthday. And
What a great birthday.
it was, because I was working, but it was one of those days where I just felt like an extra. Like I was just kind of in the background of everything. I think I ran into the office one and had one line maybe. And yeah, I mean, it definitely puts things in perspective. I'm working on one of the best shows ever, but I want to be doing more, you know? I learned so much from all of them. And it just made me want to be on a show that can be on for, 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
10 is a lot of that's a lot of seasons.
But hey, it has happened.
It has happened. You had said before, we'd been, when we talked last time, you had said about how you really were interested in doing comedy. Was that something, like when Mad Men was done, were you consciously like, now I want to do something totally different? What did you, like, were you consciously auditioning just for comedies after that?
So once Mad Men ended, let's see. What was I auditioning for? Oh, I had signed with the big agency, super exciting, and they were sending me out almost solely for comedies. Yes.
Because that's what you wanted, or because that's what they were like, we feel you're really right for this?
I don't even think we had a conversation about it, but I think that's just kind of where they thought I was heading and where people wanted to see me. And yeah, I got to try out for so much good stuff. And now, fast forward 2 years, now that agency doesn't want to do business with me anymore.
Well, I was going to say, do you mind talking to it? Just because I think, we talked about the highs and lows, and, I think if I had been in your shoes, I think coming out of Mad Men, having, done, like, recurring on, like, multiple seasons, and kind of all the press around it and everything, I think I would have felt like this was my big break. Like, I have broken through, and now it will be easy going from here on out. And because that's sort of the narrative that I think a lot of actors are sold. Like, you're going to get your big, quote-unquote, big break, and then you'll have a career, and then here's your career. And it's not like that. So,
yeah.
How has the experience been? So you were with Gersh.
Yes.
What am I saying?
You can say it.
But you were with them for 2 years?
I was with them for 2 years, so I started working with them right as Mad Men was finishing up, which was, my God, so exciting to have an agency like that wants to hire you. And, looking back, was it too big of a jump? I don't know. At the time, it seemed right. People were excited about me. And I was excited about them, and it just felt like the natural next step. So, yeah, you finish on a show, and you just kind of assume that it's gonna be, minutes until you're a lead on another show. And that didn't happen. And that was hard, because you just assume that that's going to happen. And it did happen for one of the actresses on the show, Tiana Perez. She played Dawn on the show, and that did happen for her. And of course, I'm thrilled, and she's gone off to do so many wonderful things. But it didn't happen for me, but I was with Gersh. It's okay. And then I didn't book anything with them. And I booked one movie that went to Tribeca, which they told me was exciting and great for that to happen within, my first year of being with them. Yeah. So they said. And then I still didn't book anything. And I was at this level where I'm auditioning now with people who have with actors who have way longer resumes than I do and are way more established than I am and are actual names. So that was what I was...
Like you would be in a waiting room next to people that you're like, this person has just so many more credits or, It's always interesting to me, people, I'm like, if you see someone in a waiting room and you're like, that person's not offer only? Like that. I know, like I'm surprised sometimes by people who are auditioning. Like, what are they auditioning
so
for?
So it's this whole new level. And I didn't book anything.
As time went on, did you feel like pressure at all to book something? Like, were you putting pressure on yourself?
Yeah, but I think I always do that for every audition. So it may have gotten stronger when the auditions were fewer. But even, like, back when I first started with Gersh and they were sending me out on so much stuff. Well, it's funny. When you have so many auditions, you don't worry about them. It's when you only have one.
Right.
That you put all your eggs in that basket.
Like one in a month, you're like, well, this is my chance.
Yeah.
Right.
But when I first started with them, I was going out, like, 4 or 5 times a week. You don't even, like, think about them. You're like, on to the next, which is such a great feeling.
How did you juggle all of those? Like, were you working with a coach? I mean, were you just, like, grabbing your friends? Like, or were you just up all night by yourself? Like, I mean, that's a lot of material to get through. If you're doing, 4 or 5 a week, if they're, series regulars and there's maybe, like, 3 different scenes that are each, like, 3 pages long. Like, it's a lot of material.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. I remember I had a pilot audition for The Good Place, and they just sent 3 pages of straight-up monologue and no script. And I had a coach that I would go to constantly and just work through everything, and that was super helpful. And I remember being very overwhelmed by it all, but loving it at the same time.
Sure. I mean, that's sort of the position
it's the dream. Yeah, it's what we want our lives to be. And then a year and a half went by, and things got quieter from Gersh, and then they let me go, which sucked.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure that was not a fun day.
No, it wasn't. It was a huge blow.
And you didn't feel like you saw that really coming.
I think I did see it coming. I decided by that point I needed to change things up. I wasn't getting any auditions. I wasn't feeling any kind of partnership with anyone anymore. I was just getting a lot of excuses from people, and I was like, no, I need to make something happen. And I did. I switched managers, and then 3 days later, Gersh called and dropped me. But, it's almost like a rite of passage. It seems like everyone gets dropped.
Yeah.
But, it was really, really hard. Last year was not easy. I mean, being repped by one of the best agents in town and then having them let you go sucks. I mean, it really does suck. But it's not like I'm going to stop, So, got my new manager, and we're charging forward. But, it's If someone told me in college that this was what my life would be like 10 years later, I think I would still do it, because I don't even know if I believe them, but it's nothing what I thought it would be. Nothing at all.
Conversations with Actors is produced by me, Vivian Kerr. You can find out more about our guests at conversationswithactors.com. Please rate us in iTunes if you have a moment, and hit subscribe. You can reach me at conversationswithactors@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. Thank you very much for listening.